Welcome to the Master Your Millions podcast, the show all about your financial potential and leaving a legacy for future generations. Here are your hosts, Jason and Scott Henderson.
We've got a special guest today, someone we've known for quite a while. Jason, who do we have coming on?
Scott, I want to know whether you're going to ever introduce it and say that our guest is not special. Seems like every week there's someone special. Well, having said that, this one is special. Someone that we both know and love and have a high degree of respect for. His name's Thomas Holland. He is a Jayhawk fan, so we will let that slide to start off with. However, he is the founder and CEO of the Results Agency, a premier marketing automation consultancy, accelerating leads and sales for small businesses. Thomas empowers clients to generate more qualified leads with automated workflows tailored to their unique strengths and needs. Leveraging expertise that he has gained from over 2 decades of working in a wide range of areas and a wide range of clients and industries, his data-first process enables the Results Agency to consistently increase client conversions. He's a speaker, he's an author, he's a business coach, he's a dad. I did mention the Jayhawk thing. We'll let that go again. Thomas provides the biggest thing that today's business need, and they need results, and Thomas is the results guy. Welcome to the podcast, Thomas.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dr. J. Very happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you and excited to have you around. What in that introduction, there's a little bit heavy and there's a little bit about automation. Well, what is automation? Is it just simply AI or what is it? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because we've been hearing more and more about AI from the clients we work with and just general business owners and startups from a practical perspective. At a core level, I know you guys talk to your community about creating wealth and sustaining that wealth. And a big part of that is business ownership, right? And you want your business to be successful as much as possible. And marketing automation is one of the key strategies for them. So to your question, marketing automation is really using tools and processes to put those repetitive, mundane tasks the average small business owner has to do on a daily basis, more or less on autopilot. So not only are they becoming more productive, but they're getting more time out of each day. So like just for a practical experience or example of what this might look like, the pizza restaurant down the street that we typically work with, right? They'll have anywhere between 1,500 to 3,000 customers in their email database. Well, if you're going to send everyone a coupon for that large pizza on their birthday, that could take several hours per day. Whereas if you're utilizing marketing automation through the right tools and whatnot, that's handled as soon as they sign up. So not only are you saving that time, but you're driving additional sales with those retention programs. So what our mission is to help not only educate small business owners about what those tools can provide, but get them set up appropriately with them so they're leveraging and growing their businesses appropriately.
I love that. And so that's kind of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of touched it, but let's talk a little bit more why they need that.
Right.
And maybe and most significantly or more poignantly to solopreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, solopreneurs always are thinking their theme song is nobody does it better, right? I do everything the best. So tell us a little bit why they need automation.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jason, is that if you look at what the average small business looks like, right? And I don't mean the statistical average, I mean just like the most often occurring one. It's that solopreneur who's working by himself in their own business. And they're wearing all the hats, right? They're the chief receptionist, chief sanitary engineer, they're doing everything. But there's only so many hours in the day that they can fill all those roles. And so our argument is if you want your business to not be the 75% that fail within the first decade of existence, you have to learn how to use and leverage your time effectively. And so that's why marketing automation is so important, because for that small business owner, that solopreneur, you have to be as efficient as possible, as productive as possible. And yes, you may think that no one else can do these tasks better than you. But the real challenge, the real step that separates successful business owners from, what we'll call entrepreneurs, is that ability to be adaptive and utilize tools and grow appropriately. And really, whether it's hiring team or leveraging tools, to understand that they need to be responsive to their environment. It's not always the smartest business owner or the strongest business owner that's going to be successful. It's going to be the one that's most willing to change. And especially coming with AI tools, which really help provide frameworks to be successful. We're seeing more so now than ever that it's highly likely that small business owners, the solopreneurs, will be successful if they go this route.
I've known you, I don't know how long, it's been a few years now, but I've always
Few
noticed.
years, yeah.
And I have always noticed that it seems like you are in fairly good control of your time. I mean, there's been times I've said, like, I've texted you or needed to get a hold of you and say, got to go get the kiddos from school or something, right?
Yep. Junior associates, yep.
Junior associates. Yet you're so involved with your kids, and yet you're building your wealth and you're doing stuff. Is that kind of an example? I mean, doing what you preach, that allows you to have that time freedom or that time control to do things that you find important. And that's kind of what you're saying is another reason why, right? That's the reason why, to give them their life, give a solopreneur or other entrepreneurs a life, if you will, to take care of things, because there is some upfront cost as far as investment and not only just money, but also time. You've got to get everything set, right? But then after that, it's like, oh yeah, we have a new person comes in here, fill out a card in our restaurant like you're using, and they put down their date and someone enters that in. And from now until end of time, or until it's shut off, they get a postcard every year, roughly on their birthday, say, hey, come in for a 10% off on a salad or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, no, and that's the big thing about what we're doing at the Results Agency, is that so many marketing agencies out there are full of, BS. We actually put it out there as like, this is what we do. We do it for ourselves. We do it for our clientele. And then we also spin up and start our own businesses as part of that. When it comes to who we typically work with, it's usually information experts, you call them coaches, gurus, whatnot, right? But one of the most important marketing automation tools they can actually put into place is what I call the phone call funnel, right? How many people out there that are in your audience that are listening that are coaches or information experts that their sales process revolves around that phone call, right? Getting on a session with someone, discussing how they're going to be able to help them, and then moving forward appropriately. I did over 600 meetings last year alone. And the most effective tool that I have is my link, schedulethomas.com. I actually estimated up for a presentation I gave recently. I saved over 42 hours of work time last year alone just by using that URL, from a practical perspective of saving time, letting people know how to book me, so that every day when I walk into that office, I have my time blocked off from when I drop the junior associates off at school to when I go pick them up, that I know who I'm talking to. I know what points they want to cover. I know what service we're going to offer them. And the operation becomes so streamlined that it really kind of has that, what I call, that McDonald's effect, right? Where it's like you're really able to streamline and be as efficient as possible. And again, the big thing for your audience and your listeners is figuring out, how can I use these tools to my benefit? Because I guarantee you, every one of those business owners has competitors, and they're looking at those same tools too.
So go a little bit further into detail, Thomas. Like, what are some of these core concepts or strategies that you're doing as you're sifting from a cold to warm lead or whatever?
Sure. So for those of you, for most businesses, I would argue you have three types of audiences. You have cold audiences, warm audiences, and hot audiences. Your cold audiences are people that know anything about you. So whether you are an estate planning attorney, you are a dentist, you run a pizza shop, whatever it is, they don't have any relationship with you. And the first part of marketing automation is putting some sort of evergreen lead gen or opt-in campaign out there that allows you to start presenting your message to people and communicating with those that resonate with the message, literally like raise their hand and say, I'm interested in that coupon for the free salad, or I want to have that free consultation about setting up, a irrevocable trust or whatnot. Okay. So first thing we have to do is we have to set up these evergreen lead gen campaigns to people that don't know anything about us. So we're getting a constant daily influx of leads or people who want to have that conversation with us. And this is great because I'll get notices on the phone all the time at the grocery store. I'll be at Little League, whatever it is. Hey, Bob just signed up for a meeting with you about your advertising services. Great. It's working all the time, whether I'm in the office or not. So that's the first part about getting leads inbound that don't know anything about you. Then once they're in your database or your CRM appropriately, they become a warm audience. They know about you. They're starting to build that trust and rapport that's necessary for the next step of the sales process, but they haven't done that key thing of actually give you money for something, right? Which is always that little thing that's the big step is, I like what you're doing, but now here's some money for what it is you're going to do. So to make that happen, then we have these retention efforts or conversion efforts to turn them from a prospect into a customer. So whether it's, hey, here's the coupon for the $10 large, it must be lunchtime. I keep talking about pizza and hamburgers and stuff. But here's the coupon for the $10 large pizza, right? Or here's the $50 chiropractic evaluation that has X, Y, and Z. We're going to test these different offers over and over to figure out what are people resonating with or what are they interested in. And then at the moment they become that customer, we're going to move them to what I call the hot audience campaigns, or getting our customers then to buy again. Because as you guys know, there's really only 3 ways to grow a business, and that's to sell more stuff to more people more often. And with the right marketing automation tools, all those processes, all those steps can be handled on an automated basis. So you're 10xing, 20xing your productivity as a solopreneur when you put the right tools into place.
Jason, you're muted.
I said you used a term in your answer there, Thomas, of evergreen, and that is a recent term, and I'm fairly certain most of our listeners know what that means. However, as you answer this next one, I want you to define it and help people understand so they can understand a little bit more detail on how you help people get, John Q. Public that lives somewhere, Timbuktu in the Midwest, to interact with me in Utah.
So what we're looking for at the end of the day is to lead a conversation about a service or product that someone else is interested in. And what we want to focus in on is, can we create something that is evergreen or withstands the test of time? So
non-dated, right? So we
Exactly.
started off, I could have said something about the game last night, right? And had I said that,
well, you beat BYU in football once, you never live it down, do you?
No, that's a long time ago. See, you mentioned that. Now that gives us a date, right? All I'm saying is evergreen also ties it to a date, because I see it all the time. I have books that I read and they says the national debt stands at 14 trillion.
Yep.
Well, that's so you look at that and say, you know what? It's now 34. Is this information relevant
or credible?
Right.
That's the other piece of it. Is it
right?
still?
And so you got to be real careful there how you're presenting yourself or your information. It's like, oh yeah, the Jayhawks, they played last night, right?
I think so.
It was kind of late. It was kind of late, and I was going to ask you who won or not, because I really don't know, but we can go for it. But that's evergreen, everyone. That you need to understand that when you're putting stuff out there, because the internet stays around, right? And for some reason they may search some wacko term or something and happen upon your website or happen upon something you wrote or something. And then if that's dated in such a way, they say, oh, this is no good. And it's, 2 weeks old. No.
Well, and so let's use an example that's kind of the elephant in the room right now, right? I think most people are dreading 2024 and the upcoming election, and you in your marketing material, if you're creating something that's evergreen, you may not want to refer to that, right? Because obviously it's a timely event, but to Jason's point is, once it's over, then it's going to look dated, then it's going to look, potentially out of context or no longer relevant. And so in this case, it's always like, what are the thing that I tell people is, when they're creating their cold traffic campaigns, is let's really focus on the problem you're always solving, right? So, Jason, if you're talking about setting up trust for people, right, it'd be like, what are the 5 most common mistakes new parents make when setting up trust or getting their will and these other documents into place, right? There's no, barring some sort of major legislative change, that information is really going to be valid all the time. And so again, with these advertising campaigns or marketing campaigns, as much as we can put it like on a set it and forget it type process, the better off we're going to be, because it's going to allow us to do other things in the business that allow us to be productive and bring revenue in.
I love it. So tell me, you deal with all kinds of businesses, from soup to nuts. Are there certain types of businesses seem to be more beneficial, or that you can get results for faster?
Sure.
I mean, and I don't know whether that's where I'm asking you about your client avatar, your favorite, or what is it? What are the types of business that you like to work with the most?
So let's start big. Any sort of business is going to be able to use marketing automation, right? You can have your pizza place down the street that has a weekly or 2-week sales cycle in between bills or whatnot, to the roofing company that's going to be 20 years in between jobs, right? All of them are going to use varying levels of marketing automation to increase their productivity. The big key is just figuring out how are you using the technology to augment your sales cycle and provide that appropriately. Like 10 years ago, everyone was talking about, oh, you need to post on social media daily, right? You got to be on 10 times a day and all this stuff. And it's like, well, no, do I want to see my dentist tweeting cat pics 10 times a day? No, that's annoying, right? So the focus becomes on how do you provide value, and more importantly, how are you eliminating the pain and providing the benefit that your customer is looking for? Because if you're doing marketing automation the right way, that fulfillment happens without you needing to manually provide it, which again frees you up to do working on your business versus in your business. Now, me personally, with what we do at the Results Agency, we love working with information experts and coaches, or really anyone who, again, needs to get someone on the phone to make that sale and start serving them appropriately. We've worked with e-commerce companies like, apparel companies, manufacturing companies in the past before, a little bit different, but from our real bread and butter, anyone who's out there that has a specialized education experience or service that they providing them and us giving them that, what we call, again, that phone call funnel, is usually the best result that they're looking for that we can provide on a consistent basis.
So, talking about an entrepreneur, they've got different lifespans, right? Most fail within the first 5 years, and out of those, a lot more fail within the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
At what point would you recommend people starting to automate, one? And two, what are the first 3 things you would automate?
Got it. So you're absolutely right. The stats suggest that I think 50% of businesses fail within the first 5 years. And if you look at those stats specifically from the SBA, 80% of the time it's because they don't have enough money coming in the door, right? So when I tell people when they start looking at automating is when you have that market validation that your widget, your service, whatever it is you're selling, that people want it, and you're doing that consistently, that's when you want to start working on the business to take those repetitive tasks, automate them, and start leveraging your time appropriately. So right after you've got people paying for what it is you're doing, that's the immediate time to look forward to really investing in the business and investing in the right CRM, database tool, whatever you want to call it, to grow the business appropriately. Like, this is the one area people do not want to get cheap on, because having been with larger scale clients who have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of emails and contact records, moving that around is a real pain in the butt. So if you have to really splurge on something from the beginning, it's, get that CRM, that marketing automation tool appropriate at the beginning, and you'll save yourself a lot of headaches down the road. Then to the second question, what are the first things you want to automate? First thing you want to automate is lead gen. How can I get people to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in your conversation with you, figuratively speaking, as soon as possible? Because then that's going to help you or your sales team grow appropriately. Second campaign you want to focus on then is the referral request. And this is one that most business owners tend to overlook. Right after that moment of fulfillment, or when you verified that someone loves what you have done, you need to reach out and ask them for that 5-star review on Google or Facebook or whatever platforms make sense for you. Because oftentimes getting that social proof of other people saying, yeah, talk to Dr. Jason about setting up your trust or whatnot, that is a great validator that's going to help that organic traffic on organic business come in. And then to that third, thing you'd want to automate and optimize, some sort of customer loyalty, customer retention. It can be simple as a birthday campaign, but what can you do that's showing that you still care about that customer, still want to help them, and continue that conversation in the forward appropriately. So a lot to think about. And yes, it's work up front, but these small investments, this time invested at the beginning as you grow the business, will significantly allow you to scale faster as you grow appropriately. Oh, Jason, you're muted there.
They're working on the roof next door and they're banging, and so I keep muting myself so I make sure that you're not hearing that in the episode here. What are some what is an expectation that a client could have from flash to bang? Right? Everybody likes to go fishing where they throw the hook in and they get one. Right? And no one likes to go out there and cast and reel and cast and reel and cast and reel, or sitting around all day long and then maybe catch one.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I hear a lot about marketing in general, and even marketing automation. It's like, it doesn't work.
Yep.
What kind of expectation would you say that should people can reasonably have that they would start to see some results?
The first thing I tell people is that, yes, we want to get customers from your efforts, but if we're mitigating expectations, the first thing we want to validate is really your marketing message, right? Most customers I work with, I say, well, not most, but at least 50% haven't even gone out and secret shop their competitors, right? And if you don't know what your competitors are doing from a practical perspective, whether it's, legal services or, a large pizza, right? If you're not competitive, I can't force the market to buy your inferior product or service, no matter how much money you spend, right? So the first thing is, before you start looking at, what to expect, making sure you're in line with someone else. The real major milestone that we're looking for, especially in digital campaigns, is, are we getting resonance or are we getting traction with our marketing message? And from a practical perspective, are we doing so at a cheaper level than direct mail? Because from a practical perspective, if you can beat the cost of direct mail from an acquisition perspective on digital, you've got it figured out, right? Then it's just a question of scaling. But we've got to make sure that the message is resonating first. Then if we're getting the right metrics, we're going to look at the next step. Okay, well, people like the ad. They're clicking, they're filling out the form, they're calling you. Well, what is our cost per lead, right? What's that next metric of what does it cost to actually have someone say, yes, I'm interested, I want to talk to you? And then continuing down the step of the funnel. So too many small business owners, and I hear this all the time, they're like, social media doesn't work. So, Facebook ads don't work. And part of the problem is because they went straight to the end of their funnel or their sales process, didn't see results, but they missed the 10 to 20 steps in between of the entire sales process, the rapport building, trust building process. and didn't see the fall offs that they could have worked on. It's not a binary system of does it work, yes or no. It's where does it stop? Let's fix those choke points and continue on appropriately. So I think, if there's a big failure that I see with business owners in doing their marketing themselves, is that they have the wrong focus at the beginning and they're quitting too soon. Right? They'll spend $20 on a Facebook ad, say, "Oh, this is BS. This doesn't work." And it's like, well, maybe we need a little bit more temerity with our approach here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard a lot. They get into it and they'd probably just quit too soon. I mean, that's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Question, Scott, what do you think?
When would you know that you're not quitting too soon? So let's say that you have another customer who's willing to give you a shot,
mm-hmm.
or even not you, just in general, mm-hmm. they've got their favorite advertiser or their favorite person they're working with now.
Yep.
How do they know that they're just like, nah, you know what? You suck.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Well, the most important aspect of all this is that you have to have reporting. Right. I hear a lot of business owners, the old adage is, 50% of my marketing is working. I just don't know what 50% it is. If you don't know what your average client value is per lead source, you've got some work to do. Right. By utilizing those reports, then you're going to be able to figure out what's working and what's not. That old adage, right, of what gets measured gets managed. And so, at the beginning when Jason was reading my profile, we talk about being a boring marketer. We're data driven, right? What do the numbers tell us? Can we take the emotional reaction out of this and just say, is this from a statistical perspective resonating with the marketplace or not? And if so, how do we pivot appropriately? See, what we like to do, we like to take a scalable approach to marketing. We start incredibly small with the ad budgets and make sure we get that message resonance first before we then go off and start spending 5 figures, 6 figures on marketing events or whatever it is, right? For example, your average daily minimum for spending on advertising on Facebook is $5 a day. And it may not seem like a lot, but to that small business owner who's trying to figure out, is what I'm talking about, the pain point that I remove and the benefit that I provide, is that resonating with the market? And when you spend that small dollar amount to figure out, yes, this is working, then you can scale appropriately. Versus kind of this shotgun approach that agencies sometimes take. It's like, okay, you've got $5,000, we're going to spend it all, see what we get. And if you don't get any results, well, tough luck to you, right? Our goal is we want to work with businesses, clients, 10, 20 years, not the average 18 months that a small business marketing vendor relationship typically lasts. And so by starting small, by being an advocate of their budget and looking at the data, that's how we can figure out, are we scaling? Are we iterating? Or are we just punting and doing something else from a campaign perspective?
So then do you produce like reports monthly where you send out and it's got a funnel and they're like, hey, this is where we're dropping off here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of the tools, depending on the tech you're using, all this reporting is there. It's just that little extra step of setting the report to be emailed to you at regular intervals. When we work with clients, it typically starts at about a 2-week interval at the $5 a day, just to say, hey, we got 500 impressions. This data set is statistically significant. And based on the fact that 10% of people are opting into your 5 free pizzas offer, we're going to go ahead and scale this up and move it forward appropriately, right? So from that perspective, it's looking at the reports with the small business owner and educating them to be fluent on how to hold me, or as a business coach, how to hold their vendors accountable. Because at the end of the day, the small business owner needs to understand what's going on, but not know how to do it, right? There's a big understanding for the business owner, what's my cost per acquisition? What's my average lifetime client value? Versus how do I put the Facebook pixel on the thank you page so I can track these appropriately? That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I'm convinced. I want to hire a marketing guy and you're not available.
Mm-hmm.
So what should I be looking for? I mean, what are
Right.
some key competencies, or I know, how do I discern? How do I
Sure.
discern a good one or a trashy one?
Right. So I'm going to guess over half of your audience who are business owners have probably had a negative experience with some sort of marketing, advertising vendor in the past. And the main reason, the typical reason that happens is because they don't take a high enough approach and they're more or less a tactical technician of something. So what does that mean, right? When we work with someone, the first question we ask them is, what are your business goals, right? You want to increase revenue 20%, you want to be hitting a certain figure. Whatever those goals are, we're going to reverse engineer them back all the way to figure out how many people do we have to talk to. Then when we know what your avatar looks like, we're going to go figure out where they're at and talk to them there. Your average starting out small business works with a vendor who takes a kind of different approach. Like, well, we just got to get you on Facebook ads, or we just got to do SEO, or we just got to do this tactic that I know really well. So if you're going out and you're trying to find a vendor, you want to figure out what sort of holistic or overall management experience do they have, right? There's a big difference between creating Facebook ads and leveraging Facebook to generate phone calls and build your sales pipeline for your business. And so being able to not only ask those potential clients, what is your overall experience managing entire marketing campaigns and marketing plans, will really help you separate out the pretenders from the contenders. Now, the other thing that I tell small business owners to look for is, goes back to my favorite Mike Tyson quote, right? Which is, everyone has a plan until they get punched, right? Most people in this industry are really good at selling themselves as, oh, we're going to get you all this stuff. We're going to get you these results. You're going to make all this money. It's going to be great, 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 great. Well, then the reality happens, and at some point they get punched. And so what you as a business owner want to either learn from them or see from them is, well, how do they respond? If something doesn't go the right way, what is their response, and what is their workflow process for handling that? Working recently with a coaching client who had actually contracted a website team and ads team to help her launch an event. And she wasn't getting results. And so I said to this person, I said, what is their plan, or how are you holding them accountable to get their results? And she said, well, they told me they're just going to keep spending money until they get results. Right? That's the definition of insanity. What I want to see is, okay, we got to this checkpoint, we've got to this milestone, we're not seeing what happens, we're not seeing what we want to have happen occur. So now we're going to take this different approach, do a different plan, and this is how we're going to evaluate it moving forward. The worst thing you can see is someone who's like, we're just going to keep doing this approach until we get something. There are people who, if their only tool is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and that's not going to end well for your business.
What have been some mistakes that you've seen people make in their automation?
Well, we talked about the advertising before. I've seen people who basically do the equivalent of jumping, feet first, all in, not knowing how to swim. People spending 10 grand, not getting a single result of it. That's always hard to help them work through when that happened with other people. Other mistake is, at a core level, not knowing what it is you're selling. Most people tend to confuse the method of fulfillment for the problem they're solving versus the end state for that person, right? So from a practical perspective, if I'm selling, say, financial services, right? I help people create a trust, right? You're actually providing security. You're providing peace of mind, and that benefit needs to be a part of the marketing message versus treating it like some sort of commodity. And so most small business owners, as they're getting started out, they don't understand what it is they're really selling, and being able to use that intriguing language to get people to say, I want to work with you, to get people to say, I want to have that phone call with you.
And do you feel like that all realms of society can be reached through this social media. I mean, I just have this specific question. Okay,
Hmm?
we launched a debt fund under a PPM a few months ago, and so that means that only accredited investors can come along for the ride with us. We promise a 9% return on their money, and then anything over 9% that the fund does, they get 80%. The general partners get 20%. So the fourth quarter of last year, we paid out our first dividend on the 15th of the month, and on an annualized basis, we gave them 10.5%. Wow, we want to grow it. We want to grow it as fast as we can. We've kind of proved the concept, yet there's a really small group of people that we can reach. Do you feel like that's still possible to reach those people? Because I see Facebook ads and they're like, I don't know, get 6-pack abs or lose weight or look this or that. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know that I see many ads that come in my stream or my LinkedIn stream or anything that's really specific to Jason.
So to that point, the reality is that the algorithms, no matter what social platform you're on or what platform you're on, the algorithms become the self-feeding mechanism. So if I am watching a lot of videos on YouTube about gardening, it shouldn't be a surprise I keep seeing that over and over again. Whereas if Scott's watching a bunch of videos on Facebook about real estate investing, it's going to keep feeding the beast. The thing that I think is important that people tend to forget is you want to have an omni-channel presence. And so it's not just focusing on the one platform, right? We're just going to do LinkedIn to reach this person. It's having multiple digital and analog approaches to being able to connect with that person and have them take that next step. So if you're advertising this fund, maybe a situation where, hey, we're going to target, the top 10% of households by income in these states. And we're also going to then buy some lists and do some direct mail. And we might do some ads on AM radio to get to them. Those are the approaches that typically have the best result of cross-channel communication, because then it's easier for people to say, man, I keep seeing this Jason and Scott guys fund everywhere. I should probably take a look at this, because you're literally breaking through the marketing clutter. I mean, somewhere some reports that like the average person sees 2,000 marketing messages per day, right? It takes a second to break through that. It takes a consistent effort to break through that, but also understand it has to come from multiple angles. So at the end of the day, it's really getting down to not leveraging the platform as the strategy, but as the tactic, right? It's not, you're going to find if I want to find this type of person, where are they? And then I'm going to use that platform or wherever they're at to communicate that message, versus I'm just going to use this platform and that's the strategy behind it. It's I don't say semantic difference. It's a small difference, but has significant impacts for business owners if they don't understand the difference there.
So in the process of amassing your millions, enjoying your millions and passing them on, which is basically the thrust of this whole podcast, and one of the things we talk about is team. That your team has got to be crucial. And we have talked with many different guests. So my key person was my accountant. My key person was this. It sounds like to me you're advocating that your marketing automation person is at top, top in the list of, hire 1, hire 2, hire 3, hire 4, maybe even the top 3 is someone that you start hiring to make life easier along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, because again, if we go back to those stats about why businesses fail, it's that they don't have enough money in the door, right? Very rare. I don't think a business has ever failed that had too much money in the bank. That'd be a great problem to have. So to that point, especially if you're the solopreneur where you're doing everything, it's, do you want to focus on fulfillment or do you want to focus on sales and marketing? And most small business owners that I work with want to do the fulfillment piece. Now, obviously it's a little finger on the scale because I'm a sales and marketing business coach, so I understand it's a little jilted that way. But yes, you want to have team to help you out appropriately. And if you look at what it takes to be a business to be successful, it's having that constant flow of people to talk to sell and sell again and serve appropriately. So I tell business people all the time, it's like, you can either do fulfillment, you got to do sales or marketing. You can't do both. So figure out what it is you want to do and go be really good at that. And then hire your team to fill in those other pieces so you can have the, not only grow appropriately, but just have the best chance of success that you possibly can have.
Love that. Well, Thomas, we're running towards the end of our time. Really appreciate you coming on. Is there any final words you'd like to leave with us?
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that I hope your audience takes away from today is this question of how can I make my life as a small business owner easier? How can I start creating processes for these repetitive tasks to be handled on an ongoing basis so I have more time to work on my business versus in my business? So then that way they're not only able to grow appropriately, but start getting back that time and that time freedom that we as entrepreneurs and wealth creators so desperately yearn for and want as a result of that. So if you don't mind, if they want to learn more, they can go to resultsagency.com. Happy to have a free consultation with people who might be interested. No obligation, nothing like that. But if anyone's interested, we're more than happy to have a conversation to see if we might be appropriate to help them.
Love it. And we will put all these links in the show notes down below, guys. So make sure to check it out down there.
Well,
Jason?
I want to correct Thomas just a little bit. It's not absolutely free. You got to give us a 5-star review on the podcast first, and
Yes.
tell Thomas, yeah, I left him a 5-star review at Master Your Millions, and then he'll say, oh yeah, okay, it's free.
That'll be the ticket to admission. Let me see that 5-star review for the podcast. Then you can have your.
I love it.
Love it.
Thanks,
love
Thomas. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate
Real
it.
quick, what's a big audacious goal that you want to throw out to the universe that you're heading towards that we can also sort of say, when that happens, come back to the podcast and no, it can't be when the Jayhawks beat us again.
So this might be the most out of realm pivot you've probably gotten from any of your podcast guests. But as I mentioned earlier, we at the Results Agency, we practice what we preach. We actually do spin-ups and startups for other businesses that we see market opportunities in. One of them is called suburbansurvivalgardens.com. It's a purely informational product for people who want to learn how to garden and create more food security at their homes. Our mission at Suburban Survival Gardens within the next 5 years is to get 100,000 new gardeners started creating their own food security at home. So if they want to check out Suburban Survival Gardens and see not only from a funnel perspective, but just learn how to grow potatoes in a bucket or whatnot, love to have them. And that's our goal as well too.
Love it. When you get 100,000 people that have confirmed that, let us know. We'll bring you back on the podcast. And
But they have to have a 5-star review, right?
That's right. But we'll yik yak about it. That's kind of a cool cause that's going on there. Back to you, Scott.
Awesome. Again, guys, if you'd like to connect with Thomas, check the links down below. If you'd like to connect with Jason or I, you can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or shoot us an email. All the links are down below. If you like this episode, please leave us a 5-star review. We weren't kidding. It really helps us out. And last, remember, mastering your millions all starts with your mind and your team. Make sure they are the best. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to Master Your Millions with Jason and Scott Henderson. Check the show notes for any links or contact information about today's guest. Make sure to follow the show so you don't miss any future episodes.